Hello, and welcome to the Wade Borth Podcast. I'm Wade Borth, your wealth strategist, and today we're going to continue a common theme we've been talking about lately in retirement planning is to ask the right questions. I've had this come up with a couple of clients where what they're doing is they're looking for the best product, but I have to back up and ask them and say, are we asking the right questions? And I know that seems strange, but a lot of times we're conditioned to think that there's one way to ask a question, there's one place to go with your money. And I just said, what is important to you? And again, it comes back down to asking the right questions about what do you want to accomplish? What is it that's most important to you as an individual about your retirement plan? It's really about any plan in general. Anything you do financially, I think it's really important to start with the right questions, right? Again, going back to a couple of client conversations I had, one guy was trying to find the best product. And I said, you're just trying to find the best product. And I said, but let's make sure that we're in the right environment versus having just the one product, because there's a lot of products out there, a lot of things we can use, but if we're not solving for what's important to us, we're not asking the right questions to be able to solve those. So today we're going to talk probably in depth about just asking the right questions. Why is retirement planning important to you? What do you want to do in retirement? What does that look like? Who do you want to have in control? That's one of the big questions is, who do you want to have in control? Is it something that do you want to abdicate to somebody else? Do you want to give somebody else that control? And he was like, what do you mean? Of course I want to be in control. I said, when you put your money in a plan where you can't have access to it, and they'll give you 3 or 4 or 10 options, that's not really control. That's not control of your money. That's giving your money away to somebody else, hoping they know what they do, what they're doing is correct, and in that they know what they're doing. And that's not control. Means that you can have access to it whenever you want. Control means you direct where it goes and how it's used and for how long it's used and what kind of return you want on your dollars. So he was flabbergasted. He was like, I never thought of it in that terms. I said, what happens is, and again, we talk about this fairly extensively on our website, sagewealthstrategy.com. Again, that's a singular, it's not plural, so it's sagewealthstrategy.com, where we talk about who's in control. If you're not in control and things go bad, what are you going to do? You're typically going to blame somebody else, but you really have no position you're not in a position to blame anybody else because you gave up that control. Maybe not knowingly, maybe you thought that was the only place to put it. I don't have any other choices, but we do have more choices. Again, if we start asking the right questions. And that's probably the biggest one is, who do you want to be? Who do you want to be in control? And again, one of my founding principles, one of my bullhorn messages is to empower others to take control, empower others to be in control of their life versus giving it up to somebody else. And from a standpoint of, a lot of my clients will say, what else is out there? We don't know anything else is out there. It's because nothing else has been presented. I'm not opposed to 401ks, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. But I want people to understand that there's other alternatives that are maybe a good marriage with them versus that being your only choice. When you have just one choice, when you just have one item, you don't have any choices. You just have one. It's like going back to communist Russia, right? It says we have all kinds of choices. It's just this one, right? You have this one type of bread that you can get, maybe if you could even get it at all. And that's not a choice. You're forced into using one product. So don't think that the traditional 401k/IRA, again, these are government-sponsored plans. You think about it from the standpoint of government created the problem of taxation. They have this taxation, and they're going to say, okay, now we're going to give exemptions to all these different people. And so now the government is doling out who gets those exemptions. So a 401k, IRA, all these government plans are just exemptions to the problem, which is taxation. And do you want to be dependent, again, are you in control? Do you want to be dependent on the government to say if you get the exemption today or next year or the year after that? Because there's nothing stopping them from changing the rules as they go. They do it all the time. So don't think that they won't change rules because it's their plans. They can do whatever they want with them. And they often do. They change the rates. They change how much money can go in. There's always talk about the government changing the whole structure of retirement planning. So if you're putting money into a plan, if you hit a certain income, there's all these different levers, and they control all the levers. So again, are you in control, or is somebody else in control? Is the government in control? Is Wall Street in control of your dollars? And is that important to you? You might say it's not important to me. Well, then that's fine. Then a 401k or something else might suit you, might be work well for you. I'm not saying one over the other. I just said ask the right question. And I'm asking you that question. Do you want to have control of your money? And if you do, give us a call. Drop me an email at wade@sagewellstrategy.com. We can talk about different ideas. And it doesn't have to be all or nothing of everything else. It can be a combination of all the different products that are out there. But having an understanding of how they all work, or at least how they can all fit together, it is a lot smarter. There's a lot more sage to it than not just being ignorant to everything else that's out there and saying that's never going to work because this is the only way that I want to do it. And if that's the case, that's fine. But I don't know many people that don't want to know alternatives. At least be aware of what's going on so they can be informed when they make decisions. Again, I take it further than that. I want to work with clients that want to be empowered to take control of that want to be in control, that want to be responsible, quite frankly, because when you have control, you have responsibility. And that scares a lot of people, is that they don't want to be responsible for ultimately what's going to happen to them in retirement. And that's fine. I don't think it's fine. I think it's scary. But if that's what people want, then we probably don't work together. But if you are one of those people that say, hey, I want to have more certainty, and having control gives you more certainty. It doesn't guarantee success, but it gives you more certainty of what's going to happen. Because, again, there's a lot of things that have to happen between now and then. But more importantly is who's going to be in control. And one of the next questions is, do I have use of that money today? Do I have liquidity, use, and control of my money today? And, when it comes to retirement planning, people let the tax tail wag the dog. They think that the best thing they can do is defer a tax from today until sometime in the future. They have no idea what the tax rate's going to be. They have no idea what their income is going to be or the terms of that repayment, because that's really what you have when you have an IRA or 401k, again, a government-sponsored plan. They make up the rules. They change the rules. So you're sitting out there and saying, I'm going to defer this dollar from today until sometime in the future when I have no idea what those plans are going to look like. I have no idea what those terms and conditions are going to look like. So think about it from that standpoint. Is it wise to say, I'm going to go from this point of certainty because I know what the tax rate is today. I know what my dollar's worth today. I know what I can use my dollar on today, to deferring it to sometime in the future that you don't have any idea what those answers to those questions are. Is it wise to do that? It might make some sense for a couple of dollars, but for the majority of your dollars, why would anybody want to do that? Because if we're successful in life, are we not going to say, in my mind, when I was 30 years old, I didn't want to stay where my income was at 30 or 40 or 50. Okay, so 50 wasn't that far ago. But still, I'm looking forward, saying, I'm hoping and I'm planning for everything to be more efficient, more abundant in the future than it is today. Even though it might be good today, I still want it to be better. And so what are you doing with that? And if that's your mindset, if you have this abundance mindset, then are we not going to be paying more taxes? Because again, the more you make in this country, the more you're paying taxes. So why are we deferring a tax at a lower rate today than one down the road? And then on the flip side is, again, it goes back to what I said earlier, who's controlling it, and do I have use of that money? Because that can be as important as any kind of rate of return I might get. Do I have use of that money to take advantage of opportunities? Do I have use of that money to insulate me from chaos? If 2020 hasn't taught us anything with the stock market, and then 2008 with the stock market, it's like there's a ton of chaos that's going to happen in our lifetimes. What are we doing to prepare for that? If we're giving our money away and locking up and can't use it, what are we thinking? Again, if 2020 hasn't taught us anything about insulating us from chaos, and this might be the best it ever gets. So the question is, what are we doing to plan for it? Could this happen again? Could something like this happen 3 years from now, 5 years from now, next year? I don't know. But the best thing you can do for yourself is putting yourself in a position to say, let me take advantage of opportunities, having cash, having the availability to do that, versus trying to let some perceived tax savings lock up all my money. Because again, I say perceived because I really don't believe that you're going to have the tax savings you think you're going to have. I think actually it's going to be reverse that. You're going to actually have a higher tax bill, a higher tax rate at retirement than you have today. My take on it. I have nothing that says that's going to happen. If I just look at the checks the government's writing today, thinking, how can it get any lower? But again, that's just my take. Again, going back to asking the right questions. As we prepare for retirement, again, I keep beating up on the 401k, but again, the founder of the 401k, the traditional founder of the traditional 401k today was Ted Bina. And he makes the comment, go Google it and see what he says about this monster he created. That's the actual words that he uses. I've created a monster. But yet we've all been conditioned to think that's where we need to put the money. And the question is, why do outside forces want us to put money there? Why does the government want us to put money there? You think about that? The government wants us to put money in a tax-deferred account so it lowers their revenue. Ultimately, what they want is, the government can't directly invest in the stock market, as it were. I guess they can, because again, they can change the rules whenever they want, but theoretically they can't. But they can do it through you as an individual. Say, you put your money there, we'll tax you at a later date. So in essence, they've borrowed your money to be able to put it in the stock market for the government. And now, because they made the rules, you're beholden to them to do that. And then again, it goes, why? Who profits from that? I look at, and again, if you want to reach out to me, if you want to see an example of this, go to sagewealthstrategy.com. We have an example of what the real cost is just from a fee standpoint. If, again, people on Wall Street, people that manage these large, huge, multi-billion-dollar portfolios, they don't do it for nothing. They're getting paid, and they're getting paid handsomely. They get paid if your account goes up, and you get paid if the account goes down. I hear there's a commercial about we structure our fees so that we do better when you do better. Yeah, that's true. They get paid the same fee. If you make more money, they get more dollars. But if you make less money, if you have a negative return on your account, they still get the same percentage. They just get on a smaller amount, but they're still hitting you with the same percentage. And over time, even I saw one study, it was pretty interesting, that even at a low, there's a couple articles in Forbes that talked about what the real cost of 401ks are. Even with extremely low mutual funds that are inside there, it can still cost you in between 2 and 4% total management in and out. And those are listed expenses and unlisted expenses. And people have to understand that fund companies will get away with not having to put it into the prospectus or into their 401k documents. They're just listing the expenses they know. So then when they have to trade in and out and do a bunch of different stuff, that's all unlisted expenses, and they don't have to tell you what that is. You just see the results of it at the end. And so with that, it can be anywhere between 2 and 4%, maybe higher, maybe. And this is an article out of Forbes from about 8 years ago. So again, reach out to me if you want to see that article. Wade at sagewealthstrategy.com. I'll shoot you that article, shoot you the link to that article. It's rather interesting. But with that being said, even if you use a 2% rate, the amount of money, if you take a typical person and that's putting away 3% of their income, and because it's being matched, this free money, over the life between, and again, the study I saw was from like 35 to 65, they're putting money away. Over that lifetime, the amount of money that was paid out in fees to some money manager, some person on Wall Street, was more than the match that the employer put in for your benefit. So in essence, the match was just a way to pay that fee, and then you have your money locked up for the last 30 years. So think about that, is that they're not doing it for nothing, and they will get their pound of flesh. They will get paid, and they get paid handsomely to do, and again, to have you believe that's the only place and the best place to put your money. Because they use the government to encourage you to do it. They use employers to encourage you to do it. My advice, my personal belief is, I'm not going to play in that game. I'm going to step outside of that. Again, if you want to take the company match because you think it's free money, hey, that's great. But the rest of your dollars, the serious dollars that you're putting away, is about controlling that environment. Because why wouldn't you want to be able to use it between now and the time you retire? So asking the right question is, what is the real fees? Is it really smart for me to be doing that? And then the last one, and probably the biggest question to ask, is, how am I using this money to grow wealth? Am I using this money to grow wealth? Or am I using my retirement savings, retirement investments, whatever you want to call it, am I using that dollar to grow wealth? Or am I just growing an asset that at retirement I have no clue what to do with at the end of the day. And how am I going to turn that into an income stream? True wealth, if you think about it, true wealth is having an asset working for you, paying your expenses, paying, in essence, paying your daily operations, as it were, if you look at your household, your family as a business, paying all those expenses without you having to be actively involved in it. That's the definition of passive income. But wealth is having that feeling of, I don't have to be forced to do something I don't want to do because I have enough money to now pay for those expenses. And so what are we doing today? Are we growing an asset in a 401k account or IRA account? Or are we using our money to grow wealth, to give us that passive income so we're not dependent on some money manager? We're not dependent on the market that can keep going up because we have no control over that. And that's the whole point. You have to realize we have zero control over where the market goes. The only control you have is that you have to make two right decisions: when to get out and when to get in. And then ultimately this leads to another two right decisions: when to get out and when to get in, and then when to get back in and then when to get out. So from the standpoint of, think about, again, this goes back to the question, are you growing wealth or are you growing an asset? And an asset can be good or it can be bad. It can just be, right? There's no good or bad to it. It just is. Growing wealth is a kind of a thought process, a mindset about taking control, as much control as you possibly can. Because there's some things like in 2020, coronavirus is completely out of our control. But there are also people that have, because they were in control of a lot of things, didn't let that stop them or slow them down. They're actually more profitable and more efficient than they've ever been because of what was going on. That's because they took control and they're growing wealth versus growing an asset. So again, if you want to have a discussion around that, I would encourage you, drop me a line. Wade@sagewealthstrategy.com. Go to our website, sign up for information. Just go in with an open mind and say, what is it I really want to accomplish? If I am going to contribute to a retirement plan, do I want to have long-term control, short-term control? Do I want to have complete control of that? And then what am I doing to grow wealth? And what's the cost to have it happen? I encourage you to ask all those questions. Think about it from the standpoint of what's important to you. What is it you want to accomplish versus what you're being told you should have? Because I see that in commercials and talking about retirement planning and putting your money, onto Wall Street, is that, what's your number? This is what you need to have. Why? What is it? Why is that important to you? What is it that's most important to you? What's your strategy for getting there versus what somebody else's strategy is? So again, I encourage you, give me a call. Go onto our website, read our blogs, inform yourself, empower yourself to be the one that's in control of your future. Look for certainty. Don't think that the only thing you can do is abdicate all that control and then have a lot of uncertainty. I'm a big advocate of having that certainty going forward, as much certainty as we can, and be empowered to take control. I thank you for your time. Look forward to hearing from you. And as you read our blogs and our information on sagewealthstrategy.com, I encourage you to reach out to us and let's have a conversation. Thank you.